You could give me the word when we're on.
Just a good thing the woman saw it. Saved it. Or it wouldn't have made it.
Is this the
Wouldn't
one?
have made it.
I don't know. It's a
Oh.
Oh.
No.
Reptiles are cold-blooded animals and
Here we go.
wouldn't make it.
We're on? Excellent. Good evening and welcome to the July 11th, 2013 Conservation Commission meeting. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:05. First item is a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up is the roll call, and our town council representative, Dale Pike, let me know earlier this week that he would not be able to make our meeting this evening, so he is excused, and Jeff Goldnoff also contacted me to say that he would not be able to make our meeting this evening, so he is excused. Becky, could you call the roll, please?
Drew Kefever,
Present.
Bruce Spector,
Present.
Fred Pearson,
Present.
George Hilton,
Present.
Stephanie Coster,
Here.
Jessica Vasey Powell,
Here.
Janice Rosen.
Here.
Thank you, Becky. Public comments. We're lacking the public at the current time, so we'll move on to the approval of minutes from the June 13th, 2013 meeting. I know Becky sent out the draft minutes. Anyone have any corrections, changes, comments, etc.?
Then I'll make a motion to,
I have something
go
here,
ahead.
I'm just not up to speed yet, I think. Bear with me a second here. You know, I apologize, they're just marginal notations. Oh, there was one, let's see, it'd be page 2, under number 7, and under, beside Jeff's name, it looks like, I think it's, I'm not sure what that word is supposed to be. Recused?
Recused, yep.
Is that the correct word?
That's
Okay.
appropriate, yep.
That's all I had to offer, which was nothing.
Okay. Thank you for the motion, Janice.
yep, I'll make the motion to approve the June 13th minutes.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Bruce. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll abstain since I was not in attendance at the meeting.
Could I ask a question about the last minutes?
Sure.
The very last sentence on page 1, it says there's funding to help with the dam removal. And I was just curious, I think you mentioned that. Was it you?
Well,
And I
there's-
was just curious what the funding was
It's
and if
funding-
it could be reallocated to.
It's funding for dam removal study. It's not actually for dam removal.
Okay.
So if that does say that, then that should be.
So
Well-
or it may have been referring to when you were saying that there could be some federal aid for
actually,
totally removing
yes,
versus.
there could be some federal aid. That's true. Yes, that's in reference. So there is
So it's
potential federal aid for
Federal aid, okay.
helping with dam removal if that's what we decided. But we don't act. The town doesn't have any.
Yeah, it doesn't say that, but I'm okay with it. Everybody else is. Yep, thank you.
All right, next up is the treasurer's report. Jeff sent out the treasurer's report earlier this week via email, and there's copies up here on the table. I glanced through it. I didn't see anything that was a surprise as far as I was concerned. Does anyone have any comments, questions, concerns related to the treasurer's report?
I was happy.
Hearing none, I'll stick with the treasurer's report, but I'll shift slightly. Jeff sent me an email. Apparently, we're changing some of the fund numbers or account numbers as a town, and so the Conservation Commission will have some new account numbers. Jeff sent me information that he had received from Matt Angel regarding those. There's more here than I was able to digest, I'll say, so I'll let Jeff bring that up at our next meeting. But in essence, I think what's happening is the account numbers are changing, and this is being done to bring our account numbers in compliance with state recommendations. So I think from our perspective, there's really no change other than when we submit a check request or something of that nature, we'll have a different number that we'll have to put down. Other than that, it's all the same thing. Okay, that takes care of the treasurer's report. Committee reports and subcommittee reports. Janice, anything from the planning board?
The planning board approved Chimberg's proposal to construct a single-story, 9,600 square foot commercial building near Spring Street at the west end of the Newmarket Mills parking lot, and that was approved the other night. That was the only thing that we have that's coming up that I'm aware of. And the other thing that we're just waiting for still is for the town council to approve the zoning changes, which, if you saw last night's meeting for the town council, they said they would hopefully vote on it next month at their first business meeting.
Yeah.
That's not the gas station.
No, that's not the
remodel.
gas station, that's
whole new
the
building?
whole building behind. He mentioned hopefully a tenant would be a small grocery store, but he's not sure what the other tenants would be. And if anybody watched it, I don't have that design, but there was a nice design for the back of the building. I mean, he put a nice curbing up with some shrubs and situated the doorway nicely, so. And he worked out any problems he had with Chimberg and the librarians worked very well together, resolving their problems, and it pays for the community to put input in, be it on any committee, because the planning board did listen, and the TRC committee did listen, the developer listened, and they all worked together and came out with a happy resolution in this situation.
Great.
So I guess the point is for people out there to put their input in,
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Janice.
but that's all I know of.
All right. That's fair. Any other subcommittee reports that have any
Yeah.
progress?
The town council met to talk about the 2 dam-related studies. The first one by Wright Pierce, where they went over their findings about what would be necessary to become compliant with the state regulations. I talked about this before, and I gave you a list. They basically highlight all different potential options and then associate cost with all those. So they went over that, and then the town council also listened to the recommendation from the dam removal feasibility committee about which contractor to use, and there was a lot of discussion about dam removal. Some interesting things came up. I guess one of the interesting things to keep everyone apprised was there was talk that it was brought up by the owners of the Durham Boat Company, and they had done some preliminary water analysis, and they were talking about how Route 108 crosses an outflow. I'm not going to get these terms exactly right. That what happens is when the lamprey overflows, it can overflow into the other side of the road. I'm not sure exactly what that area is called.
Yeah, it's Long Marsh.
The Long Marsh, right? That area, and that's connected to the
Oyster River.
the Oyster River system. Anyway, they talked about how in the past there was more of a flow. There was a higher flow rates there, but the culverts have been closed over time or whatnot, and something that may help alleviate some of the water that comes to the dam is to increase the flow capacity there, and that is an area that is being targeted by the Department of Transportation to be rebuilt in the next several years. And so we may want to try to think about ways that we might be able to open up some of that potentially. I think the engineers were pretty sure that it wouldn't solve the problem it wouldn't reduce the levels enough to completely being compliant with the regulations, but it might be something that could be done. But then it would also mean it would impact Durham, and so there's a lot of discussion about interacting with Durham on this and trying to get people's feedback and stuff. But that was one of the big things that came up. So.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I know in the policy and process, there's nothing to report, and on the trail maintenance, there's nothing to report. Okay. Moving on to the chairman's report. The item on the agenda that we have there is the Heron Point encroachment resolution status. So at last evening's town council meeting, the town council had a second reading of an ordinance, and they voted to accept the lot line adjustment and easements, access easements that were proposed to resolve the encroachment of the mobile home and the town's encroachment for the dirt driveway access that goes back to the parking lot. So the town council voted unanimously to support that that transition. So I believe, and related to that, Diane Hardy, the town planner, received a letter, I believe it was yesterday, from the Attorney General's office saying that they were fine with the lot line adjustment and easement approach to resolve these issues. So that continues to move forward, and I think we are dangerously close to a full resolution now. Anyone have any questions related to that? If not, I'm going to bring up a few things that are not on the agenda. One, I just wanted to remind members of the Conservation Commission of the free sales that were offered on the Gundalow Piscataqua. I believe I sent that information out to everyone, and they're occurring. There was one last night. I guess 4 have occurred so far, and there's still a number more. I can pass a copy in each direction. So if anyone has any interest in those, they should feel free to sign up. I also sent out information to everyone on the commission related to an upcoming seminar that's on August 8th regarding invasive aquatic plants. It's an identification and monitoring workshop that will be down at the Exeter Public Library. That one is open to the public. I will put up a couple of flyers for it on the bulletin board here in Town Hall. And if any of you on the commission that I forwarded that information to know anyone who might be interested, feel free to forward that on. It is free and open to the public.
This is part of what you forwarded to us, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. That was, and I think I don't know if I forwarded that in early June or late May.
I think I saved that one.
I don't remember which.
There's some nice talks that are going to go on.
Yeah, I thought so too. That's why I figured it was worth bringing up again, just to remind the commission members that that's out there and available. Seems like a good resource. And then the last one is we did, as a commission, receive a copy of Great Bay Matters. I receive a copy individually. If anyone would like to take it and read it, they are welcome to do so. And it is informative. I would recommend it. So that's it for the chairman's report. Moving on to old and new business. We received notification of the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting that's on July 15th regarding a variance request to construct a 14 by 24 foot shed 10 feet from the property line at 48 Smith Garrison Road. The shed, because it's 10 feet from the property line, would be within a 25-foot setback. I don't know if there's anything I think we're just notified of this as a general courtesy, so to speak. I don't think there's anything that's particularly,
It's not like it's against conservation land.
I do not believe
I
so.
don't believe there's any in that area.
Didn't the code enforcement officer say in her email or his email that they were gonna look into whether it was within the lamprey setback and get back to us? Thought I saw that in the email.
I don't know.
But if anything, I guess that would be the concern if
I
it
don't
is, but
remember.
I don't know.
Yeah. I will be unable to attend that meeting on Monday night, but if anyone's interested, they're obviously welcome to go.
Is that the ZBA?
Yeah, it's a ZBA,
CPA?
yeah. But it was forwarded to us, I just want to make sure everyone's aware of it, that's all. So it's this coming Monday. Okay, the next item is, we have a request for usage of Shanda Waterfront Park for August 10th. The request comes from the folks who are organizing the Newmarket Old Home Day and Oyster Festival. They're hoping to use the park from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. There will be bands throughout the day and a few vendors. I believe the Old Home Day used the Shanda Park last year for the celebrations, along with the Oyster Festival.
What dates was it?
August 10th,
Just one day?
one day. Yep.
And this doesn't include the colonial people with the animals or?
No,
From 10 till?
6. Yep.
So you need a motion?
Yes, I do, Janice. So we need a motion to.
I'll make a motion to approve the Newmarket Old Home Day organization to use the Shanda Park for the Oyster Fest on August 10th, within the hours of 10 through 6.
Second.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you, Fred. Wayne, you look like you had a question.
Nope.
No? Oh, okay. Any further discussion on the motion?
They've used this in the past, right?
They have, yeah.
And we've never had any
Never had
problems.
any
No,
issues.
they did a good job.
They
cleaning
always
up and so
clean
forth.
up.
Yep. All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I will sign this, make a copy for the police, and then return it to Debbie Garrettson, who submitted the request.
Speaking of that, since there is not going to be a Heritage Festival this year, did the Conservation Commission want to have a presence at the Old Home Day? Did
That's
they
the
ask?
follow-up
Oh,
question.
okay.
And that's, yeah, the Old Home Day and Oyster Festival organizers asked us if we were interested in having a presence at the Old Home Day and Festival. I said I would bring it up at our next meeting and get back in touch with them.
Our experience in the past, and I'm not trying to be negative, was that we didn't have much response, that people were more interested in rides and hot dogs and that sort of stuff, as in contrast to the Heritage Festival, which we've had, I think, considerable interest. It's been healthy. Now, I'm not saying that I'm against doing that. I'd be more willing to set up like we have in the past. I think it's the discretion of the commission what you'd like to do, since we don't, I mean, the point's well taken, we won't have a presence because there'll be no Heritage Festival this year.
Right.
So it is our singular opportunity to do something if we want to this year.
Well, I was going to say that I'd be happy to offer the tour again
Mm-hmm.
of Wigan
Okay.
Farm.
Wigan Farm?
If- Yep.
Sure.
Now, to do that, we would probably need to have the setup, right?
No.
You
No,
just
last-
advertised on like the marquee and in the brochure or something, didn't you, last year?
Oh, okay.
Well, that was, yeah. I'm not sure I'm not sure if there is a brochure
Yeah.
for All Home Day, but
Right.
yes, it was just advertised.
Yeah, it was advertised just as a tour
Because
of
it
Wigan
started
Farm.
Either before or at the same time as the booth was opening, so there wasn't really an opportunity to advertise at the Conservation Commission booth, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
Okay.
If she lets this Deb know about it, Deb will make sure the word goes out too.
Yeah.
She's very good about getting the word out on this whole home day weekend. She has a Facebook page, and every time something comes out, she puts it out for people to know what's going on.
Things that-
And everybody shares information, so that's one way of helping get it. I won't be here to help out.
That's, yeah, my problem is I won't be here either.
Summertime, sometimes.
Yeah. Summertime's tricky.
Yeah.
It is. What day is it?
Saturday and
August 10th,
10th, Saturday, yeah.
yeah. Well, at this point, I haven't heard the commission saying anything that indicates that we want to have a presence there beyond Stephanie's willingness to provide a tour at the Wigan Farm again. So I'll get back in touch with Debbie Garrettson to say, to make your offer, and I'll make sure I copy you on that. And,
This would be
Go from there.
an easier weekend than Heritage Weekend. It's only a few hours, so I mean, it's just if we get enough people to make a decent showing. I'd hate to have one or two people show up for the whole day and that's it. Did we have a trolley to bring people up to the Wigan Farm, or they just showed up on their own?
showed up.
Yeah.
So that's not terribly hard. I mean,
Right. Well, and there was limited attendance last year. Is that the polite way to say it?
it takes some time
It does.
Yeah.
to it's for people to appreciate it also.
Yep.
I can tell you that we wouldn't be able to get the pontoon boat during the season. We were able to get it during the Heritage Festival because it's past the prime season on the lake. So they didn't have a problem letting it out, especially at the price we got it at. We paid less than 1 day's rent. And I don't believe that you'd be able to get it, this early in this, still in the season. It's part of their income.
Yeah, sure.
But as far as if we could put the pop-ups up and show a few things. I would have, that's it's Saturday, I'm gonna be working that Saturday.
Yeah. All right, well, yeah. It sounds like we just don't have the manpower to do it, so that's simple enough. Okay.
Mhm.
Very good. Anyone else have anything under old or new business?
I guess the composters would come under that?
Sure.
Okay, let's see, the tally here is that we've done well, I think, over the last month. We've sold 3 composters, rain barrel, 2 turners, for a total of $245, which I have to give to Jeff tonight, but Drew suggested maybe I hang on to that. I might change that proviso a little bit, because there are checks there, and if they become outdated, it would be
Yeah.
a problem for the recipient, so I might take the liberty of contacting Jeff and making
Sure.
arrangements to give that to him
Yeah,
instead.
sure. Yeah.
So go forward with that. And as I was driving out tonight, Pauline came out and said that someone had called and they would like to pick up 2 rain barrels tomorrow. So we have 2 more sold. And that leaves an inventory of 7 composters, an inventory now of 7 rain barrels. So we have 7 of each left, and that'll be it.
Great.
And unless there are any questions on that sort of thing, I have just one other thing.
No, that's great.
We had talked about invasive plants last time a little bit, and I suggested I could get some of these for folks who wanted them. And I think I have 6 or 7 copies here, so. Do you guys need one?
Didn't have one.
Do you have one?
Yeah, I have a couple too.
I have one at home.
You do?
Yeah, oh yeah,
And where?
I take it out and look every time I find a
Alrighty.
plant in my backyard.
And I don't know if you want to put these in the drawer for the Conservation Commission, or you want me to just hold on to them, or
I have one more
whatever's
just to
easy.
make sure.
I will hold on to one.
You want to hold on to more than one?
No, unless, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll put them down in the, down the files downstairs.
Because let's see, Bob probably doesn't have one, huh?
You may not, yeah.
And,
Yeah, I'll put them downstairs.
and Dale probably doesn't have one.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Excellent.
Excellent, thank you,
And
Fred.
that's it?
Great.
Um,
Anyone else?
I just have a little bit of information on the signage.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
It was brought up at the last meeting that maybe we should check on having them redone or added to the original signs because of the expense of rebuilding them at the Newmarket Barricade. So I made another trip over there, and it'll be somewhere between $13 and $15 a piece to have the missing letters reapplied. Figuring not to do the pinstripe around the sign. That was really more decoration than anything, so just to replace the faded out wording and numbers would be between $13 and $15, which sounds like a pretty good deal.
To replace them in the red again, though, or
No
the black?
red this time.
Okay.
He suggested
Yeah.
just going with black.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think we did the red the first time just to have them
Stand out.
stand out. Which worked pretty good for a while, and now they don't stand out at all. So I thought that was a better way. I never did get to Infinite Imaging about, I want to check with Drew actually about, isn't that where you had the Tuttle
Yep.
Swamp
Sign,
sign done?
Yep.
Which was another good idea. I do have Monday off, so I could probably touch base with them.
Sure.
Where did you go for that? Portsmouth or?
Portsmouth, I think, but they have something in Exeter too.
I know where the one in Portsmouth
Yeah,
is. So,
whatever's convenient.
I don't think it's gonna matter if we wait until to get this done. If we do it right, it'll be done.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we have an idea on what it would cost to revamp the signs, and I'll get a price from them to redo them, which would be completely redone.
Yep.
Just having them revamped just means to take a road trip to pick them all up, drop them off, and then a few days later, pick them up and we can reinstall them. So it's not like there's downtime and anything like that.
And if I remember correctly, we have about a dozen of the signs out.
Right now, we have 11 signs out of the 12 we originally had. And we had talked about a few other places that I thought if
Might
we
be
wanted to,
appropriate.
we could have a few more.
Yep.
Might be a good idea to do that. But when we get a firm number on what we want to do, as far as revamp or replace, we can tackle that too.
Sure. Okay. Great. Anything else under old or new business?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Bruce,
Yeah.
when you do the, you were discussing the turtle crossing area, when you put down or go forward and place a sign on the town road,
Yeah.
do you work with Rick Malasky to find out where you can place a sign? Because I heard where they're doing work on Ash Swamp Road. I don't know if it's gonna be right away or when, but I'm just curious, do you work with the public works director? I mean, I know he won't object to having a sign up, but the placement of it so it's not interfering with gonna be hot topping and putting that
I
2 foot.
think he mentioned a
question.
distance away from
They're all well back.
well back from the travel lanes.
Okay,
Other than that, I mean, he didn't say you can only put it here. I don't know that we asked for anything more clearer than how far off the road to put them.
I only asked because I heard him talk about hot topping sections of Ash Swamp Road and putting I believe a 2 foot.
Yay.
2 foot, what do you call it? Like a
Shoulder?
Thank you.
Shoulder, yeah.
And that's why I was curious, because I hate to have you put a sign somewhere, and then
No,
they
they're way
come through
off.
and, okay.
They're way off from that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Way off.
About the turtle crossing sign, since we're talking about it, I looked into pricing for them, and there is one that you can get that is made of aluminum, which I think is pretty standard. I don't really know. You can get it for about $30, including shipping. And it's like, it's a sign of a turtle. It's a pictogram of a turtle, and then it says turtle, Xing.
Yeah.
It's on this the standard yellow diamond. And we had talked about finding out whether we could customize them for, saying certain months of the year or for a certain distance down the road. And I did look at that, and basically you'd have to buy a separate little rectangular sign to put with it. And those get pretty expensive, I thought anyways. It's like it would at least double the price of the original turtle crossing sign to do something like that. So, and even then, they were the signs that I saw that were on offer for that kind of a thing were for distances, like next 500 feet, next half a mile kind of thing. And so I think if you wanted to say, May through July or something like that, you would have to go with a totally customized sign, which those get to be like $80 or something like that. So that's the information.
Is that the only type of sign? I mean, I imagine
there's
there's got to
other-
be like little plastic ones. Or
Well, I
something.
didn't see any little plastic ones, but I did see like 12 by 12 plastic ones, which were cheaper. They were like, I wrote it down. They were going for like $15, but they were only going to last like 3 or 4 years, was what they said. And then there was another group, I think they're in Maine or something, and they hand make their own signs and go around and put them up if you want them, but they're made out of plywood, which I didn't think was going to last very long either. So this seemed to be sort of the thing that was going to be durable, but also the least expensive of that option. Yeah.
We get the post, I believe, from Rick Malasky. I think the town supplies the post. And it's just a matter of installing them. That's not that hard to do.
Okay. And I have a little, I'm sure you can all imagine what it looks like. It's just like the deer crossing signs, but I did have a picture if you want to see it, but I don't think it's necessary. It looks like a little turtle, cartoon turtle.
I think we know what a turtle looks
Yeah.
We had talked about doing Ash Swamp Road.
Yeah.
Something was brought up about Bay Road.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that we never really finalized any decisions on
Right.
that.
Right.
There are crossings at that little Crummets Creek area, just down from
Cummins
where
Creek.
Krusick lives.
Right at the
Oh, okay.
the bottom of
Yeah.
the hill
Yeah.
there, like
Yeah.
enough that it would warrant a sign to warn people, or
I would think so, yeah.
so yeah,
So, I
those were
mean,
the
so
only two
we're up
places we
to,
talked
we're up to like
about.
4 signs.
I've taken several and put them on people's lawns and in the woods and wherever they were traveling.
Turtles.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Bruce was saying four for one for each
Oh, right,
direction.
right.
Each
That's a really good
location
point.
needs
Each
two.
location
Yes,
would have one
that's
on
true.
each end,
Yeah.
That's true.
separated, just so. I guess we could throw the dice and only do one way, but that's kind of a gamble. So, talking 4 signs at $30?
Yeah, that includes the shipping for them.
And that includes the shipping.
Yeah.
It's, this is the time of the year. Why not?
Yeah.
So you're looking for a motion to purchase the signs, or we're just discussing it tonight?
Well, so far we're discussing it, but if we want to make it
Could
happen.
Get that way.
We should, we
Right.
should
Oh, that's
make
what
a
I'm asking, if you
motion.
want us to make a motion? Would you
Well,
like a
here-
motion read?
Here's what I'm going to suggest.
Yeah.
I think the idea of 4 signs is good, but as long as we're buying 4, I think we should buy 6. And that way we have, if we find another location or, think of another spot that we think is appropriate, then we'll already have the signs and.
I would think
can
once we
in
put
the
them
file
up,
cabinet.
someone will come up and say, hey,
Hey,
what about my road?
Right.
Yeah.
And there is somewhat of a, again, I can look, there's something of a discount if you buy more than one. I don't know what the limit, I don't know if it was 10 or what
Right.
it was, but, yeah. You can figure that out when you go, but,
Well, I'll make the motion that we expend $180 to buy 6 signs, turtle crossing signs, just so that we can get it out there and get the idea from the commission, if they'd like to do it.
Sounds great. I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 5-0.
Shall I order them then, or is that, or does somebody else
Yes,
normally do that? Okay.
if you would,
Yep.
that would be great.
Yep.
And then just ask them to invoice the town and make sure that the invoice says Conservation Commission on it.
Okay. And if they need like a purchase order number or anything, I don't know. Does that ever happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, contact them.
Okay.
You know, see what they say.
All right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You go up to finance and
If-
they'll do that
Yeah.
for you.
yeah,
Just get that from
Yeah.
we can figure it out. I know the last set of signs that I got, the company was more than willing to work with us.
Okay.
You know, yeah. They were fine. Okay, great. Anything else under old and new business? Last item is the action item list, and due to the fact that my printer is out of ink at home, I was not able to print out the action item list. So I'm hoping that maybe someone has one.
I've got half of one. Mine stopped halfway through it.
Let's see.
Got further than mine did. So the first one, we already discussed. Second one, investigate options for a nitrogen mailer.
Yeah. I did a little bit of that, and I think Stephanie did a little bit as well. And I don't know if anybody else, I think you mentioned maybe you were going to look into one thing, but with the Nature
I
Conservancy.
may have, but I don't recall.
Okay. All right.
If anybody does.
I found a bunch of things. There are things like, for instance, Stephanie found a very simple brochure that's put out by PrEP, I think. It's like a fact sheet that sort of goes over what nitrogen is, why it's harmful in excess quantities in the environment, and maybe a very little bit about what you can do about it. So there were things like that. There's another brochure that PrEP puts out that's all about buffers and how they're helpful for keeping waterways clean of pollution. And on that, it actually says that PrEP is willing to come in and do workshops, buffer workshops for towns to teach people about them and the ins and outs of how to, I don't know exactly, but I'm imagining plant maintain, that kind of thing, which might be something we're interested in. And then the thing that I said specifically I was going to look at was I had remembered that there was a town that I'd come across that had all this information on organic lawn care, which is related for both the pesticides and the nitrogen that go down onto lawns. And I did find information about that, and basically there's a town in Massachusetts that has this whole, they have all this information available on their website about lawn care, and I remember they had pamphlets available in the actual town offices that you could look at. They also had a whole campaign about it was like basically an anti-pesticide campaign, or more an integrated pest management campaign. And they asked people in the town to take a pledge to reduce the amount of pesticides that they were using in their yards. So there's these little pamphlets you can get, that's the pledge, and you fill it out, and then you submit it, you send it back to the town, and various things related to that. And along the same lines, I found some information from Newcastle, which is closer to us, doing the same thing for fertilizers on lawns. They're trying to get as many people as possible to take a pledge to use either slow-release fertilizers or no fertilizers at all. And then there's this whole educational campaign that went with it to try to inform people about fertilizer use and nitrogen and so forth. And that's some of the stuff that I put on the computer, and I can show people, or I can send it out if people want to look at it on email or whatever. But they had a sort of a step-by-step program that they had for trying to reduce fertilizer use and educate people in the town. And it seemed like, out of all the different things that I looked at and I found, some of it, I'm sure some of it is something that we would want to use, we could use here in Newmarket. And the thing that occurred to me is, we could probably pretty easily get some brochures to have at the library or at the town hall or on our bulletin board here at the town hall, just to stay permanently. And I also think that it would be really useful to just have those things on our website, the different brochures and there's like, lists, easy lists of things that people can do in their own yards to reduce nitrogen use and that kind of thing, and therefore, help improve the water quality in the Great Bay. And, I went to other conservation commissions' websites to get this information, and it was very easy to get, and I think that would be a really good thing for us to have on our website. So that's what I'm going to say. If people want to see some more of the specifics, like what the lists are like, what the brochure is like, what the pledge is like, I can show you, but I can also just send it around after the meeting.
I'd like to see it.
I'd like to see it because what I could do is also, the planning board has a landscape regulation coming up for developers. And maybe it's something, it's not too late, we're going to be discussing it. And then, hopefully at our next meeting in August. Yeah, August. And it could be something that maybe they haven't thought of and they may want to incorporate.
Okay.
It's not highly organized, but we're with me.
Sure. Fine.
And I know we talked about, and I think, maybe we need to think about how we want to disseminate this information. We had talked about maybe sending out a mailer to everyone, but I guess you have to think about how specific one gets. Is it a general one if we send out to everyone? Is it a specific one? I don't know. Or do we just provide a place where they can look at them, or?
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna start
Oh, it's our heads in the way for people at home.
I don't know,
Help
maybe
if I
turn
dim
off
the
the lights
lights?
a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. So, all right, let's just start here, because this came up, but what it says is, I can't even read it myself, making estuary-friendly decisions about lawn fertilization. And this was something taken from Newcastle. And it was part of I think like a one-page brochure that they had available for people that were interested in the pledge program that they were working on. So it just lists some very simple things. And I thought it was good because it actually tells you like certain fertilizers that are better to use than others, either because they have the slow release or reduced amounts of nitrogen and phosphorus, and then it had like where you could go get it in the area, in the seacoast area and everything. So that's one thing. And then on the side, you can see their version of the nitrogen reduction pledge, and they actually had people cut that out and send it in. It was a whole big, they got funding to do a study, and this was part of it. So, but that's what it looks like. I pledged either not to use lawn fertilizers or to use the reduced nitrogen ones, and so on and so forth. And they just kind of kept information on what kinds of landowners were taking the pledge and so forth. So that's one thing. This is the other half of that, I think. And it tells you a little bit more about how to figure out if your fertilizer is good or bad in that sense. And it's a little bit complicated, but if you could just think about it, I think most people can figure it out, But again, that was part of a brochure. Okay, so that's one. This is the one, I think, Steph, that you sent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's from PrEP, and then it's like, what is nitrogen, where does it come from, why is it a problem, a little bit more specific about Great Bay, but not specific to Newmarket necessarily. And it's a couple, I think it's 2 pages, and this is some of the things about what you can do. So sort of some of the very basic things. Okay, and then this one I don't think, this is a longer document. It's something we might want to consider posting on the website, but I'm not going to go through it. This was from the, I think it's on the PrEP website. It's about buffers, and you can see here it says they can come into town and conduct a complete buffer protection workshop, which is kind of what I thought was the most interesting part about this, because otherwise there's not too much information. It tells you what a buffer is, what it does, how it's related to impervious surfaces and so forth. I think this is the last one. This just tells you in more details about the Newcastle project. But if you go down, they tell you, you know, all about this educational campaign and the pledge and research. Different things they did. They had workshops, public events, they had all these media releases. And then they had things like, I think that was up here, a demonstration rain garden, I don't know where that was. There it is. This is all about the garden, the fertilizer reduction campaign again.
It was, the rain garden was specifically for stormwater runoff?
Yeah, exactly. At least I didn't read all the details, but I think that's what it
Yeah.
was, yeah. And then I think it just gets into what I showed you before, so. But I thought that was good because we're talking about Trent wanted to do an educational campaign, so to speak, and they kind of had it all very organized and, you know, several good ideas in there. So that's what I had.
Yeah, that's great.
That's really good. I just have one question. Was there anything addressed in terms of agricultural application of fertilizers?
No, I didn't look into it, but I'm sure that there is a lot out there. And actually, this is unrelated to your question, but I did want to show you one other thing. Just quickly. This is the one about the pesticide. Again, it's like a campaign kind of format. Those were their objectives. I thought they had a good list of, again, the things that you can do or the things that you wouldn't want to do that would help, you know. And I was thinking that something like this could very easily be put up on our website. And then this is their version of the pledge. Again, they had a cutout thing, and then I found this much longer thing about, you know, organic lawn care and I don't know, all the different things that you can do for an eco-friendly property, which again might be something that we could link to on our website. And that's, you know, and I didn't look for anything related to agriculture, but I'm sure it's out there. Yeah.
This is really good.
So.
Great. Yeah, I would ask if you could send that out.
Yeah.
Or send out links to all the commission members.
Okay.
And I would ask the commission members to, you know, take a look at it and see what we think might be appropriate or applicable for us to try and borrow.
I do think
or
there's,
make contact with, you know, I saw, for example, the Newcastle Conservation Commission is having something, you know, looked like there was a date in August, September, October, and maybe November. Maybe there's one in July. There were 4 dates that they listed. They were going to do something on Newcastle Common. Yeah, I mean, that'd be a neat thing to go to and see, you know, chat them up, see what they're doing.
Yeah.
How effective is it? You know, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
I was going to say, I do think there is a benefit to maybe pulling together some of this information and making something Newmarket specific or slightly more, you know.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, relevant to that.
And I think very clearly the public supported the wastewater treatment plant upgrades in the most recent town voting, and to me that was a statement of the town understanding the need for that upgrade and as it relates to water quality in the Great Bay. So it seems the public has some level of education and understanding that that's one area that needs to be addressed, but if we can help educate that there are other areas that we can also make progress that will also facilitate recovery of the bay, that'd be a good thing for us to participate in. And I know that part of our agreement with the EPA, part of the town's agreement with the EPA, is that the town will try to work to pursue reduction of non-point source nitrogen contributions to the bay as well. And I certainly imagine that we could help be involved in that process. So looking at these materials and trying to keep that sort of thing in mind would be helpful and good. Excellent. Thank you, Jessica. All right, the next thing on anything else there?
Very nice.
Hearing none, I'm going to move on. Next one was ask Chris to re-air the invasives lecture and nitrogen talk.
So I talked to him, and he said that he found the invasive lecture and he will re-air it. He didn't tell me a date yet, but I will email you the date that it's going to
Excellent.
be re-aired so that we can get the word out again. He was a little bit hesitant to re-air the nitrogen one because it was before the town voted on the ordinance, and so it had some specific things related to that are now out of date. I mean, based on the ordinance.
What about the first nitrogen talk? Was that also not appropriate?
I
Like
didn't
3 years
ask.
ago or
yeah,
something?
I didn't ask about that one. He did say that there were some problems with some hard drive malfunction, so he may not have all the older things. But he did say that also that all of those programs are on YouTube or online, and we can link to them. So maybe another thing to do to add to some of our informational stuff would be to link to these programs that we thought were appropriate on our website.
Okay.
And do you think I should ask about the other one? I mean, I can ask. Did you think it was a worthwhile presentation to be shown again?
Well,
Do
it
you
was
think-
certainly a good presentation. It was a little bit technical, I thought, but if it's available, I think it's a good resource. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, particularly if they're, if they're already on YouTube and we can put a link on a conservation website to direct people there. That,
Do you know who one contacts to get any kind of website action?
I believe we would contact Doug Poulin.
Can you spell the last name?
Poulin.
Okay. And then, somewhat related, Chris mentioned a desire to potentially create a video of some of the Newmarket Conservation Commission sites. And I don't know if we want to, we probably have to arrange, I think he was thinking kind of an interview, maybe, or like a talk a little bit about each site and maybe show some pictures of it, or.
Yeah, he has mentioned that to me in the past as well, either,
Great idea.
videotaping portions of the different hikes or on some of the trails and what you can see from the trails as a promotional piece, so to speak, for the open spaces that are in town. And yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Seems like that would be a good thing to work on. We should probably assign that to the Trails Subcommittee. Okay, great. Thank you, Chris. The next two items relate to potential invasives. One was bamboo on 108, and the other is Japanese knotweed on Ashwamp Road. I'm guessing we don't have anything done on that.
I think that might be when you may have said something
Yeah.
about the Nature Conservancy, something about bamboo. I don't remember.
I stopped in there a couple of times, and I couldn't find anybody home. I wanted to talk with them.
Okay,
And I did take a couple of pictures of it, just so we'd have a picture of it.
sure.
And I've talked to Joanne Globe about it at Nature Conservancy, and she's aware that something's there, but she didn't know whether it was invasive or not. And when I did go down, it doesn't appear to be invasive, but that's just eyeballing it as a layman. I don't know that.
Right.
So I'll try and get an actual name of what that is.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, we certainly know that the Japanese knotweed is an invasive. That stuff's unbelievable. Next is create composter information displays and signs. I know we have something at the bottom of the stairs in the town hall here. Is that?
Yeah, Bob had brought that up, and we've put the two, the signages up down there.
Yep.
That's the extent of it. He had a more global approach to it, I guess, putting something that was life-size up in the showcase. And I'm kind of at a loss as to how to do that and whether or not it would really be productive to do it. I will say this, when we had the composters in the town clerk's office, we sold very well. And then it became a fire hazard it was a fire hazard in Rick's eyes. So we moved them outside, and then it still was a fire hazard. So then they were relegated to the basement, or the auditorium rather. And as you might predict, we didn't sell any there. But both of those places we sold well, and that's been the history in Durham. We've had them in the town hall where they pay the taxes and so forth. And all this flurry of activity and selling from Durham has come from them being there. And actually, our time is up there. We had a 30-day allotment of time. We've
Okay.
re-asked and haven't received permission to have them there for another month. And I plan to go over there tomorrow and talk with them about that and see if we can do that.
Okay.
So the more visible they could be in the town of Newmarket, I think the more productive it would be in terms of selling them, because that's been the history in the past. The more visible, the more sales. We have a pair at the library currently, and we've had no sales up from that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Fred. Next one is create a maintenance list for future conservation commissions. Things to do. I don't think we've made any progress on that one. Inventory Shanda Park for damage and needed repairs. Fred, your name was next to that one.
I think the signage came up about the ducks,
Yep.
and in looking at that, and Wynn was down there too recently, it clearly says not to feed the ducks. And this is just an observation. There were a bunch of ducks down there a few months ago, and then there were a bunch of chicks. I'd say there were maybe a dozen, and they dwindled to nothing when I was down there a couple days ago, and then again today. And the ducks really, I don't think, are a problem. That's just a personal opinion, because I've seen 3 there, and the grass seems to be regrowing.
They'll be back.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you're right.
They'll be back.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
What do you think there was down there this winter? About 100?
Oh, when the ice is in, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but so far all the posts and all that stuff are still okay.
They're intact,
Yeah,
as far as I
good.
could see, yeah. Did you
Great.
see any damage down there when you were there?
The flowers, the plantings are nowhere near what they were 2 years ago or whatever that you guys did. Did you notice the lack?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I did notice that, come to think of it, and Pauline, as you know, put those in, and I think we expended several $100s to do that. And we could redo that if the commission felt that you'd like to do that, and we'd be willing to reinstate those plans. I hadn't really thought of it as an agenda item, but if you'd like to restore it with the flowers that were there, it could be done.
Okay, yeah.
I could look into cost and that sort of thing.
Yeah, if you don't mind, let's do that. I appreciate your and Pauline's offer, but I'm a little hesitant to take you up on it, if you know what I mean.
Well, no, I hear you.
I mean, it's a lot of work, and we've been fortunate this year in that there's been a lot of water, and we've had a lot of rainfall, so there's not a lot of watering required, but if we plant annuals down there, then we need to water them, and yeah, it creates a lot of effort. That it absolutely does beautify it. I agree with you 100% there, Win.
Well, I'm not advocating that we do
But
it.
it's-
I'm just
yeah.
saying that's happened.
Yep. Yes. It's gone to a more natural state.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you don't mind, Fred. Yeah. If you want to talk to Pauline and
Sure.
think
Can I
about
say,
it.
if they're gonna spend the effort to investigate, at a previous year, we talked about if we're gonna do plantings, maybe we wanna look into more, drought hardy, duck hardy plantings.
Oh,
So
yeah,
maybe not
yeah, for
annuals,
sure.
but maybe some kind of, I don't know, additional small shrubs or something like that.
Mhm.
So if you're gonna take the time to do some research, maybe that would be a good thing to look into.
Yeah, no, for sure, I agree.
Okay. And then on the action item list, we have the older items that I don't think we've made any progress on. Marking the easement boundary at New Roots Farm, I know we haven't done anything there. Outreach program for nitrogen removal, we talked a little bit about that, or at least nitrogen reduction. Follett's Brook as a prime wetland, I don't think anything's happened there. Identifying when land changes from current use. We're theoretically part of the process there, but it would, yeah, I'd like to see it happen.
Didn't you say that you had to go back for some reason? She said there was something else she had to look into.
Yeah, I think there, yeah, it would be good to further clarify. That's the way to say it, I think. Finishing the connector trail between Piscassic River Loisel and the Audubon property still needs to be done. And removing the snowmobile bridge from Wigan Farm still needs to be done. All right. Does anyone have anything else? Thank you, Stephanie.
There you go.
Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Our next meeting will be August 8th. It's an early one.